Good morning.
Good morning, Megan.
How are you doing? Still camping. I see a few campers, a few people who are crashing our campground. We've been participating in Camp Inspired for the past 2 days, which has been quite a whirlwind. And this is the CTL's Day of Professional Development. So thank you for joining us. I'm thinking that we probably have some eventers here. Are eventers? Yeah, wonderful. So the topics, 3 of the topics today are related to the eVenture program. If you're not familiar with it, the CTL offers an eVenture program. We just piloted it in the spring, and this is actually now our full cohort who are doing their professional development ahead of time. So you can engage in a learning project and receive a stipend for your professional growth while you're doing it. So the topic of our workshop today is open educational resources. And just bear with me if I have to collect my thoughts a little bit, because I was realizing that this is 8 workshops in 3 days on 5 topics, and I think I'm giving myself ADD is what my goal is here. So anyhow, I'm Megan Garvy, and I'm the instructional designer here at the college, and I'm thrilled to be here with you, and thank you for joining me this afternoon or this morning. This morning, woo! Here we go. So we are looking at open educational resources, and just, I can give you a little background. I stepped into this role in January, and we had our first eVenture group, which was our pilot OER group, and we learned quickly that we all needed to learn more about OERs and come up with a shared understanding of what it actually meant. OERs are really trendy right now. We have the Maricopa Millions project and request that we can have reduced or low-cost courses. And Maricopa Millions defines that as courses that have textbook fees that are under $40. So that would be a low-cost course. There's actually a designation now on our course bank to show students which courses are low or no cost. Different grants that we apply for require courses that are no cost at all. So I'm going to show you some of the nitty-gritty details with licensing, this whole notion of Creative Commons. But what we learned throughout this process is there are so many open resources out there already. It's really a challenge to develop your own textbook, and kind of a lofty goal even for our eVenture project. So what we may want to look at is finding resources that you can remix and rebuild off of, so that you can make the course really your own and maybe just add to some of the things you're doing, with a goal, though, to get rid of a heavy textbook cost. So I'm going to open with a video because they do a really nice job just showing this idea of what open is.
Learn from it.
From around the globe. And the artist who brings beauty. When you share your creativity, you're enabling people anywhere to use it, learn from it, and be inspired by it. Take the teacher who shapes young minds with work and wisdom from around the globe. And the artist who builds beauty out of bits and pieces she finds online. And the writer whose stories use ideas and images crafted by people you've never even met. These people know that when you share your creative wealth, you can accomplish great things. They and millions of other people all around the planet are working together to build a richer, better, more vibrant culture using Creative Commons. To understand Creative Commons, you need to know a little bit about how copyright works. Did you know that when you create something, anything, from a photograph, to a song, to a drawing, to a film, to a story, you automatically own an all rights reserved copyright to that creativity? That's true. Copyright protects your creativity against uses you don't consent to. But sometimes full copyright is too restrictive. What about when you want all those millions and millions out there to use your work without the hassle of coming to you for permission? Commons. We provide free copyright licenses you can use to tell people exactly which parts of your copyright you're happy to give to the public. It's easy. It only takes a minute and it's totally free. Just come to our website and answer a few quick questions like, will you allow commercial uses of your work? And will you allow your work to be modified? Based on your answers, we'll give you a license that clearly communicates what people can and can't do with your creativity. You don't give up your copyright, you refine it so it works better for you. Welcome to a new world where collaboration rules. It didn't even exist just a few years ago, but now there are millions and millions of songs, pictures, videos, written works available to share, reuse, and remix, all for free. Want to work together? Then join the Commons. Creative Commons.
Okay, I provided you with a template that's called a Frayer Model. And on that, it's designed for you to construct your understanding, your working definition, your working understanding of what open educational resource means. And so on the left-hand side, there's a working definition. Then you have characteristics, examples, and non-examples. And we're going to develop our understanding of OER throughout this hour and probably beyond. So if you could just jot down some ideas, just based on the introduction, maybe what your colleagues know or what you've read about OER, what you saw in the video. What's your current understanding, a working definition of what OER is? What are some characteristics, and then examples and non-examples of open educational resources? And if you wouldn't mind, we're just going to go around. I didn't give you a minute to introduce yourself. So maybe introduce yourself, your discipline, and then something that you can share from your Frayer template. Not all of the ideas, but one thing with where you're at in your understanding of OER. Do you mind?
Sure. Hi, my name is Amanda Halbershell. I'm a comm communication adjunct, and in my characteristics, I put works such as film, music, stories, art, and other items that can be produced.
Hi, I'm Terrell Sands. I'm English faculty, and I'm also the e-venture coordinator. And I'm also really interested in OER, and in particular, I'm looking at e-textbooks right now for my own English courses. So I'm trying to learn. Did you want me to share something from this?
Yeah, just maybe one thing from your current understanding of OER.
So my working definition for myself, OER means the resources are set up by the author or the creator to use freely, although there might be limits within the Creative Commons, copyright, licensing, but basically freely be used by others, but set up with some kind of limits determined by the creator or author.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, Jan Pitts, I teach math. Hopefully this is right. I don't know, I put an example of Khan Academy.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that-
awesome. That's great. Great example. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sharing you all, I'm also. Jan was the one that talked to me when we was I know nothing about OER other than what she told me, so anyway.
Which is not very much.
So I'm just trying to collect and think about how I'm going to use it, and because I'm all about sharing, because sharing is caring. Anyway, yeah.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Anyone?
I'm Mike Gertis in the business department. I would love to be able to find an OER text for my class. I've used a 6 or 7 year old textbook that's basically at its absolute end of life, but because people can get it for like $6 or $8 on Finders Cheapers or Amazon, so I'm going to have to upgrade. Too many things have moved, so I'm hoping something exists. Working definition, educational resources for which the copyright has been modified to allow the materials to be used and shared more freely in a way prescribed by the creator.
That's a great definition. Great. Thank you.
Elizabeth Simpson, also in the English department, and I am working on an e-venture project for a literature class, which I was using a giant big anthology with the Kleenex kind of pages, and I only use about 1/3 of the book, and I feel like it's a big waste, and I've been meaning to do this for the last couple years to try to put together a literature class with materials that were available. And I just said a working definition is materials that can be reused, remixed, and shared.
Great.
And I like this idea of remixing, not just taking a whole, I'm not really looking for a textbook. If there is one, that's fabulous, but I would like to piece together things that I like to teach and things that sort of mirror what I have been teaching, kind of go in another direction too.
We learned last semester that it is nearly impossible to talk about OER without talking about how you design your course.
Right.
That it really requires a course redesign or rethinking about what are the competencies on stage, what does that mean, what do I really want my students to know. So that all is going to surface when you look at OERs.
I'm Shereen Lerner and teach anthropology, and I'm here because I recently took over a class for someone who retired, and I used his textbook or his reader this past year and hated it because it doesn't fit what I want to be teaching. So I'm looking just for alternatives at this point, and it's I've already done the course redesign, but I haven't done the book redesign. So I need resources now to go along with how I'm teaching the class, which is completely different than the book that I'm using. And I I just put articles, books for the working definition, article books, videos pertaining to an academic discipline that are online, open for use in an educational setting.
I'm Susie Hoban, an adjunct faculty for the English department at Rio Salado College. And I was just attending the 2 days of the conference, and I saw that there was a third day, so here I am crashing your
Thank you for doing that.
adventures.
Workshop junkie.
It's been great.
There was a tent, there's a grill over there, she thought she'd stay.
I found some coffee, and what more do I want? But I'm interested in OERs, not to design my class, they're already designed at Rio Salado, but to use supplemental materials. And I did have a little experience, and Mike was saying he was looking for a textbook, flatworld, I think it's .com, but they do textbooks there. But I was using one, and then they changed the license, and it was no longer free anymore, so things change in
That's
OERs,
really
I can
tricky.
tell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But,
I haven't experienced that before, so that's interesting to
yeah.
know.
So
Great.
that's what I'm looking for.
So that's-
Enhance my class.
There's an example for us. So an
Yes.
example that may have shifted to a
Flat
non-example.
world.
Yeah. All right, welcome.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Kibbe. I teach the Linux operating system at the Network Academy. And I feel that as our movement, the free software movement in the 1980s, it really started this because when Richard Stallman left MIT, his job at MIT, to create the GNU project, to create a free shareable operating system, he insisted that free software also needed free quality documentation. So this really sort of starts with the free software movement. I've been involved in that since, I can't remember when, and all my materials licensed under Creative Commons, really since Creative Commons started. And of course, from this document here, under examples, everybody knows Wikipedia, that's licensed under Creative Commons license.
That's great, thank you. Okay. I have a working definition here from, it's the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, and just pointing out a few features. So when we think of OERs, that includes, there are full open courses that we have access to. Maricopa is considering adopting the version of Canvas that's called Canvas Commons, where we will be able to offer open courses as well. So you can share templates that way. Or resources. We like to use it for professional development courses. So it could be a full course, just materials. Maybe you just have an open module, or you find a module online that you want to use from an open course. So not necessarily your entire course, but you just use one of those. Maybe a textbook, videos, tests, software like you were saying. Photos, these are all different areas that we need to look at how open, what is the licensing and the openness of those materials. So let's take a moment and look at the licensing, and then we are going to have some time to explore some open resources here. So just like the video said, that as soon as you create something, you're the owner of it. You have copyright, and in the 1980s, a law was passed that you don't actually have to label it and go to a company. Once you create it, it belongs to you. And you really should consider how you license that. Not for the purpose of, well, it could be for the purpose of it's mine, don't copy it. But also for some of us who are in the domain that we want to share our work, this notion that it's kind of a professional courtesy to tell people how you would like them to use it, or the type of permission you give them. I think it's really frustrating when we're looking for resources and we can't find a copyright on it, or it's unclear of how your colleague might allow you to use some of their work. So it is, I feel, more of a professional courtesy to label them that way. So you are all familiar with the original copyright symbol, which is this, right? And we know that if it has this type of a copyright code on it, we can't do anything with it unless we have permission from the author or the creator of this. And sometimes this includes a fee that we have to pay. Sometimes it's just written permission. So if you do find something online and it has the copyright symbol on it, you really should have permission from the creator to use it in your course. Unless you link out to it, you are permitted to do that through Canvas. Anything that has this type of a license on it cannot be embedded into Canvas without permission, only if it's a link out. So what we're looking at is a new type of licensing called Creative Commons. And that was the video was introducing that to you. So I've given you, we're going to do a little game here to get to know these Creative Commons symbols and codes, because it helps you to understand when you're looking for resources, how can I use them? Is it something I can remix? Do I just have to give attribute to somebody? What actually do I have to do with it? So let's take a look at each of the symbols. The first one stands for Creative Commons. So if you see this at the beginning of an item, you know that this is some sort of an open source. It's a Creative Commons source. Then we have this symbol here, which means to give attribute. Okay, I'm giving attribute. Simply, I need to say who created it, by whomever. I also have this one here. So it's a Creative Commons, and you can use it, but you can't make money off of it. Okay? So no cost, no money if it has this type of a code on it. Meaning that if you want to use it, you can't now have your students pay for it. Then we have the equal sign, which means share alike. Share alike. So that means you can use it, but you need to use it the same way. Let me look at my last one. And this one here, actually I need to look at this. I have to look this one up. This is public domain. If something is public domain, it has absolutely no copyright. You can do whatever you want with it. So this is my no copyright. And, no derivatives. I'm sorry. This one is share alike. I apologize. And this is no derivatives. So I can't change it. No derivatives. And share alike. Okay? So I am going to give you the codes, and I want you to put them in order, what that licensing would look like. So here's a license button scramble. The first one is by non-commercial, which means no money, right? Non-commercial, and share alike. What would that look like? By non-commercial and share alike. You got it. So by non-commercial and share alike. Okay? Share alike. So share alike means that if you're going to put my resource in your course, and you're going to make your course an open course, your course has to have the same licensing as my resource. So it has to be share alike.
I'm sorry, can you?
Okay. So if I'm going to take an open resource and put it into my course, and then I'm going to make my course an open course.
Oh.
The license of your course, Canvas allows you to license your course if you want to make it public. The license of your course has to be, it can't be any more than what the most restrictive open resource is in your course. So this one would be share alike, which means you can't charge for your course if you have somebody's materials in there that said that it's non-commercial.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Okay. So you're welcome to use it. You can do what you want with it, but you have to have the same type of licensing on it. Okay, let's look at another one. We have by non-commercial, no derivatives. By non-commercial, no derivatives. You got it. So it should look like this, the next one here. By non-commercial, no derivatives. That means you can't change it. You have to use it as is. If a license doesn't have non-derivatives on it, you can remix it. You can take things from it. So by non-commercial, no derivatives. Sharealike has to do with the licensing.
No derivative means, again,
You can't change it. You can't change it. You have to use it as is. Oh, I just told you what I showed you. So by, no derivatives. These are all of the ways that people license. The other one is by, no derivatives.
So that could be used commercially.
You could, yep. By non-derivatives. Should look like this. Then we have by Sharealike. You got it.
Should they all have the CC? They shouldn't all have this.
They should, yeah, they should. They typically when you see these licenses, you'll find documents, you'll see these licenses, you'll either see just the symbols or you'll see a series of these codes. It'll just say BY-ND. So typically you'll see either or. And I'm going to give you a file with JPEGs of all of these licenses, and then you can put them on your work. The next one is by non-commercial. So by non-commercial is pretty open, isn't it? Just give me credit, do what you want with it, and don't make money off of it. So you could take, if you found a photo that was by non-commercial, you could take that photo, you could, put whatever people do to photos. You Photoshop it up, show that you gave credit to the person, and you just can't sell it, okay? And then we have by non-commercial Sharealike. So by non-commercial Sharealike should look like this. I'm going to give credit to the author. You can't sell it, and you need to share it with the same type of license. So I want you to think about your work when you create things. We're kind of, some of us, shifting our culture. We used to live in a culture in education where we would create things and not share it. I'm in an advanced degree program right now, and one of my professors said, don't share your work with anybody. They're going to take your dissertation. And I think that's an old school culture and mentality. And some folks still live in that mentality. So I want you to think about your own work and which type of license of these 6 would you be most comfortable with your work? If you were to create something for your colleagues that you could create as a Creative Commons, how would you license it and why? Think about it and tell the folks at your table. Shireen, you might want to, if you want to slide over. Okay. Right here. I gave you a better definition here. Yeah, others can distribute your work only under a license identical. It has to be the identical license.
You're going to give us this PowerPoint.
Yeah, yep, you'll have all of this. It's hard to see. I'm afraid to make it darker in here.
They just don't get it.
Yeah. That is public domain. I don't care. Do whatever you want with it. Yeah. That's honestly, This is how I feel. When I create stuff, I don't need credit. You can do what you want, because I feel like everything I create, I learned from something else. Right. So how can I really call it my own? So I do. I have no, my personal is I have no ownership of my, no personally. But you may feel differently. Okay. When you access this PowerPoint, this will be a live link, and it will take you to public domain icons. So if you want to use these icons, you can. Now I'm sharing this with you as if you were creating your own materials, but I think it's a good way to think about this so you know when you're looking for materials what type of license you should use. And again, when we go through OER and what we've learned from Maricopa Millions and our colleagues at other colleges is it's really better when you're first getting started to find resources that are already out there, and I'm going to show you where to find those. Okay, let's do this. Let me give you this resource. Just have you take a minute and look at it, because I need to go grab some cards. I can't explain where they are. These are pamphlets, and the color copies, I apologize, we're not working in the copy center. You have a color one? Okay. This is great. This is it's the Community College Consortium for Open Education Resources. And you can join their listserv. You're going to get a gazillion emails. I get them all the time. But just like this gentleman was saying, were you looking for business, you said?
Computers, yeah.
Computers. So somebody will send an email and say, does anyone know where there's open computer textbooks? And everyone will send them what they're looking for. So it is a bank of resources and a community that collect and share open resources. You can connect with them to join their consortium. But here, what I wanted you to take a look at is here on the back side, these are all open textbooks. And if you have a device with you, I'm going to ask you if you could boot up your device or open it and just look at some of these websites, because we're going to explore some of the open resources that are available. If we have, do we have at least one device at every table? Yeah, maybe if we could grab.
Maybe two?
We have it.
Two?
Okay. My cards. Oh, thank you. Okay, we're going to do some more kind of focused searches or look at a couple of these together, and not necessarily online, but I'm going to show you how you might put together a lesson or a module based on a concept using different open resources. So we have, it sounds like we have English, math, I'm going to stick with this English one. And let's cluster, if we can, into maybe 3 groups. I think that would be best. Elizabeth, do you mind just rolling over to this side so that they have a few more eyes over here? Okay, so you have a set of cards here, and the card that we need to look at, the first one, it's titled Remix and Attribution Game. So it's a bit overwhelming to consider going into the great sea of resources and figuring out how to teach a concept with these. So we're just going to play this game and see how we might choose to teach something using open resources. So if you'll start with your card that says Remix and Attribution Game. And here's your objective. You are creating an open course for a course called Intro to Shakespeare. You need to find materials and design an assignment that meets the outcome. Identify the major characteristics of Shakespeare's comedies, tragedies, and histories. Okay, that's your students, that's their learning outcome. Each of the cards represents a resource that you can use in your class. Mix and match the cards to create the lesson. Be sure that you apply the license correctly, and be sure to write attributions for the material. So this is what I'd like for you to do. Read through these cards. You don't have to look at them online actually, but read through those cards, and I want you to think about, if I was teaching, identify the major characteristics of Shakespeare's comedies, tragedies, and histories. I cannot teach that with just one resource, right? We know that our students need multiple exposure to things. They need to construct knowledge. They probably need different sources of input. So I want for you in your groups to explore some of these different things and think, certainly I would not use all 7 of these to teach this one concept. Which one would you use? And then looking at the license, each one of them has a license code. What is the most restrictive license that you would have to put on the course based on the materials you chose? So you have to identify the most restrictive license based on the resources that you choose. Okay? All right, let's see what you come up with. Do you want to look at these with me?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay.
Sorry, I'm just not feeling that well, so that's why I'm sitting on my own.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's why I didn't want
Okay.
to be participating today.
Okay, so we're teaching characteristics of Shakespeare's comedies, tragedies, and histories.
Are you familiar with Gutenberg?
Open source.
So the Gutenberg project is a project that's been around
Collection of all of the plays.
to digitize.
That might be a little overwhelming for students just to know the characteristics.
I was thinking if they took, that would be one, because it focuses, that would be one thing to do, because it's got a good focus on it.
Yeah,
But
just
this-
one example, right?
as an
Instead of
example.
instead of all of his plays.
Well, if we wanted to put all like individual examples together.
Some of the readers aren't really.
These are 2 different examples.
And inside
This one doesn't focus on the same thing, because it's
Staging.
just a generic Shakespeare.
North Carolina that reads
It does, but
Twain.
Dramatic readings and commentary on his plays. And this is a full open course, it looks like.
so what about this? It's a Shakespeare class, free to use. But that doesn't have quite the same emphasis.
Yeah, that
It could be
that
too
could be a
big,
little
too.
too much.
So that would
Yeah.
go with the one that you have that's too big.
Over here, stage and commentary.
Well, that's this one, I think.
Yes,
All the plays.
all the plays. The Folger Library offers a collection of readings and materials on synopsis, text, and images. This is possible just as an introduction. We would need some sort of a guided reading assignment, though, so that they knew what they were looking for.
Right.
Characteristics of the comedies, tragedies, and histories.
Actually, now that I'm looking at it, because it does include, and then this one, these things.
This actually might be really good because they would be able to comprehend it,
Right.
since the actual plays are hard to comprehend.
Exactly.
So they could watch a couple and then they could somehow like demonstrate the themes or the trends that they see in his work.
So which one, we're supposed to find one that's most restrictive?
Well, we just want to choose what we would use. So we are saying that we would probably use these two, open readings and then some videos.
Yeah.
And then we just want to see if we were going to use this in our course, what is the most restrictive? So we have buy, share alike.
This might not be bad either, just because, although this is mining literature, not necessarily Shakespeare.
Deeper
so never
meaning.
mind. I thought just because it has questions and other resources, it might have something in it. So then you
So even if we just did these two, so this is buy, share alike, so we would have to use this license.
because it's the most flexible. Right?
No, because it's the least flexible. You have to use the ones that's the most restrictive.
Oh, okay.
So if this was, let's say we were going to create a module on this, and then our course was going to be made open, then this would be the most free, I guess, license that we could use. We would have to use the most restrictive that they have, buy and share alike.
Okay.
Yeah. So then
And what, this one is by,
just buy.
okay.
Just buy. So you could actually do whatever you wanted with this, but if we were going to create a module, we would have to license our module this way.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just not very talkative today.
I'm feeling so good. Okay. Thank
That's
you.
why I'm sitting over here.
Okay.
Big 3 days.
Yeah.
How you're doing.
I'm going crazy.
Outside of campus for a couple of reasons. One, I can get the material. It's not a showstopper.
What do you think?
What does this do to you where it says some is copyrighted?
Well, now if some is copyrighted, what do you have to do? You have to have permission from the creator to use it, or you can link out to it.
Oh,
So this one you can link out to, but you couldn't embed these materials into your course. You could just link out to that website. There's one.
They're like the full plays. I don't want to embed all of them anyway.
That's right. And the one challenge that you could have with this is accessibility. So we know that we're going through Canvas accessibility this year. And when you go to outside websites, you no longer have control over accessibility. So based on the way that the website is set up, you may need an alternative assignment for students that would need an accommodation. Okay? And then what you wanted to look at is so this would be an outside link. So let's not look at this for copyright, but let's say now you are going to copyright your course or your module. Which one is the most restrictive license?
So if something's copyrighted, you don't have to limit the amount of it by fair use or anything? You can link to the entirety?
You can link to the entire source. Yeah. Yeah, so the share alike license.
That's the most
Yeah.
restrictive.
Yep, so your course would need to be, your materials would need to be licensed this way. Yeah. Do you think that these resources would teach that concept well? You could use these resources to teach that concept?
I like those two just because they were short little bits, whereas everything else was like the full thing.
Yeah. It's almost a whole course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost too much. Yeah. How did you do over here?
I picked these three with open reading, student commentary, and this video when
And what's your most restrictive license?
the
Of those-
web tutorial, we put it over there, we didn't even.
Okay, and with this one, you could link out to this, but you couldn't embed this into your course
take
because
it.
it's copyright.
Right.
Yeah. And on these, if these were the ones you're going to put in your module and you were going to go to Canvas Commons and make your course public, the license of your course would have to be whatever the most restrictive was here. Okay? It couldn't be any looser than that.
I can say that again. License of course is the most restrictive.
The most restricted open resource that you chose.
Okay.
Okay, your course can't be any more open than the most restrictive resource you choose. Okay, so folks, I have this slide here. I'm just sharing this with you. You do have some resources on the pamphlet that I provided, but one thing that I have up here are YouTube videos, and I'm going to skip down here. Andrew, our filmer in the back, our media guy, he's also the video specialist here at the college. So something to think about is that if you want to create videos and put them into your courses, like for an introduction or for a summary, you could revise your course, and for every module, you know how textbooks have an introduction? Well, you could do your introduction. So if you wanted to film a video, you could schedule time with Andrew and film a video. What I put up here, though, is for accessibility. YouTube is really good. MCC, you all have your own YouTube channels by working here at the college. If you do create a video, highly recommended that you upload it to your YouTube channel, and YouTube will automatically create a transcript for you. So it will generate a transcript. They're not always perfect. So you have to download it and fix any errors, but now you have a transcript for your students as well, and it would provide closed captioning for you. So YouTube is really probably the best source for doing that, for transcribing your videos. The college does have services to help you to do that, but that's an idea for you. Okay, let's look at one more thing. So this is just kind of a fun activity to wrap us up here, looking at photos and images and how we select resources that we would use in our courses. Okay, we're going to work in the same groups, and I have a challenge for you. I have a business proposition for you all. We're in the marketing department now. Okay, so here's the proposition, my business deal that I have for you here. Hello, BLS creative teams. It's Frida from the photo department. The Vegetable Farmers of America have hired us to print and billboard ads that encourage people to become vegetarians. These are my kind of people. I'm in the right business. These ads will be used in magazines and billboards nationwide. We have gone through hundreds of images and have decided on 5. It is your job to make the final decision on which of the 5 images to use. The photos, along with their source information, are in the packet. Choose a photo that you believe will encourage someone to become a vegetarian. But be sure to also consider how the photo was originally used and copyrighted. Remember, it's going to be all over the place. For each photo, you'll need to answer these questions. Who owns the photo? Who holds the copyright for the photo? And who gets paid for its use? Who created the photo? What was it originally used for? And what does it show? And is this the right photo for our campaign? So I'm going to hand out these images to you. And I'd like for you to work as a group and determine which photo is the best. I'm going to put a couple of guiding questions on the board also for you to consider. Okay, and yours are front to back. They will be in color. MCC color copy wasn't working, so it's in black and white. We can't campaign this in black and white photos.
What time are the other 2 workshops that you're giving today?
This afternoon.
Okay.
So I think 1 to 2 and 2 to 3, I believe.
Okay. So
Yeah.
1 to
Mm-hmm. Where in the? Oh, right here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I believe that it's in a public
Okay.
album.
Take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Okay, folks, I have a few considerations while you're working through these. What might the consequences be for using the creative works? How would the owners react to the content? How would the VFA react? How might the public react? And how do these reactions affect your decision?
What's the VFA?
It is the vegetarian, no, it's not.
Vegetable Farmers.
Vegetable Farmers of America. Okay? And you need to, you're going to have to justify your choice. Do you need another set? Did you get to look at them? Okay. Okay. What's that?
Bessie.
Bessie?
This means
Sympathy for Bessie?
Okay, it says it's taken by one of our in-house photographers. So whoever this is, it's
Yes.
their photo.
It's their photo. Yeah. You're safe then.
So we're safe.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But
Yeah,
it has to
don't
be-
eat
but they want it
Bessie. Sweet
copyrighted.
Bessie.
That's the only one that I could even.
Which is okay because it's our marketing campaign, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm only going to give you about 1 more minute to make your decision. Oh.
Got it. See, I'm already thinking like a vegetarian. I don't even see like.
No, yeah.
That's it.
So this one, it sounds like. No cuts of meat, so we might want to take that.
Oh, we can monkey around with that.
A bunch of it. And I don't know that Hindu's religious view.
Okay, just for the sake of time, let's share out an idea or two about the photos you selected. I know some of the groups didn't get through all 6 photos, or all 5 photos, but what did you think? What do we think about, which photo did you choose and why? Bessie, why'd you choose Bessie?
Because, I don't know. One would even, because it was a cute cow. It wants to eat a cute cow.
It's totally like the Eat More Chicken commercial, right? Right? That kind of is what it reminds me of. Like he's just like, eat more vegetables. I'm a cute cow. Yeah, so there's some sympathy there with the cow. And what about the licensing and the owner of this photo?
This one was easy because it said their own photographer took it. But they wanted to keep the copyright, so if someone else wanted to use it, they would have to pay them a fee. So wouldn't that just be a normal copyright?
Yeah, but that is kind of good for our campaign.
Well, no,
because
yeah,
if
that's
we're
what you're
using
saying.
it,
It's
we
not
don't
gonna
want
be-
another company to
Right.
splatter our cow picture all over the place, right?
And use it for something different.
And use
that
it for, doesn't that cow look? No.
Yummy.
Oh, no, they probably wouldn't do that. I do. Some of these on the back, so the one, I do want to point out one, so the back image with the young lady who's standing by the cow. What's the challenge with this image? Her.
Yeah.
Her. Does she know that somebody took her picture? She might be pretty mad if she sees her picture all over the place. And she was just there with, at some event. Because the owner of the picture who took it could have said you have permission, but not the person who was in the photo. That's, you would hope, yeah.
But what if she's a butcher?
Yeah, she may be totally against this. Yeah, she's a meat advocate.
Right.
Yeah, she's in the meat business. Okay, and what about photo number 2? Any challenge with this?
Religious issue.
I try not to market religious issues, right? We probably, cows are sacred in this domain.
We just didn't think it would appeal to that many people, possibly in this country, if we were
Exactly.
marketing only in America, that we would only reach a very small number of people.
Same thing, yeah, you got it. Okay, I think this is a great activity for us to think about which photos, which images we choose. I just want to share with you a couple resources that you will have access to when you have the PowerPoint. So I know that there's a lot of information, and I have a couple slides in here that will just show you, actually, they don't show you this. The one, I do. I'll draw your attention to this. I thought I had this on here. On the back side of your Frayer model, I gave you a grid that might be helpful to you when you're thinking about your course. A few things to consider is that this is a work in progress. You're not going to figure out OER in an hour. And I'm learning as I go. Now every PowerPoint that I create, I feel like I have this moral obligation to put a license on every picture in every PowerPoint, which you are supposed to do. And who has ever done that before? Maybe some of you. I haven't. But it's kind of like now you know, so now you need to think about it. And how you're going to tag your images. And understand that you're probably not going to revise your whole course in one semester. You might, but maybe not. Think about something digestible. You can maybe refine an assignment and then a module and build your way into openness so that you kind of grow through this experience to know how open you want your course to be. Unless you go to these websites and find a textbook that you love that's totally open. And there you go, you have something to replace it with. But what I gave you here is a chart for you to think about. So for whatever competency I'm teaching, you can look up your competencies. What are the concepts that I want my students to learn from this? So I'm teaching legal and ethical issues in public education. Key concepts I need them to know are the history of law for educators, discrimination, current events. Those are things I want my students to know. And based on that, what are activities or assignments I might do to teach that? What are the signature or the summative assessments for that? And then the resources, you can start to find resources that match the concepts that you want to teach based on the course competencies. Because for some of us, we're shifting from a culture of, I always taught the textbook from chapter 1 to 15. But did that textbook really teach the competencies? Somebody told you it did. but you're the expert in your domain. So you should be able to look at your competencies and, being an expert in your field, decide this is how my students are going to meet that competency, which gives you a lot more freedom to choose resources. Yes?
What does it actually look like if you use a lot of these open resources in your course? Whereas with the textbook, the students have one thing. What are you giving them? A bunch of PDF files? Or are you having things printed or giving them the option to have things printed? What does it physically look like if they're using these materials?
So great idea. You could do PDF files. A resource you might want to use is called Issue, ISUU. I think that's how it's called Issue. The program that I created, I'll show you what it looks like. So an idea would be, if you find a bunch of open resources or materials, or you want to create your own and then put them into an issue book. I started using this a while ago. So if you take a look at, the program, I just want to be able to show you what this looks like because it's a pretty neat resource. Another idea is just the way that you build your modules. So, you're thinking about how you're organizing your course and your modules, or if it's something you can embed into Canvas, you can create a Canvas page and copy and paste it onto a Canvas page with the right license.
So then they're doing all of the reading at the computer rather than...
In Canvas, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Another idea, if you just want to go from a high-cost textbook to a low-cost textbook, something that we did in 2 of my courses a few years ago is we created our own materials, or we found open materials, and then we went to the Copy Center and they created a spiral-bound notebook that our students bought for $8. So that became their textbook, their resource, just a compilation of books. So if you still want your students to read something, to have a tangible book to look at. But I want to show you what Issue looks like as well.
That's OER. It can be that simple and straightforward.
This is what Issue looks like. So again, it's ISSUU is the website. It's a free digital tool. So what I did here is, the programs you all have been using for Camp Inspired. So I created these using PowerPoint. Created it using PowerPoint slides because I liked the way that you can format with PowerPoint. And then I converted it to a PDF file. And I uploaded the PDF to Issue, and now you actually have a digital book.
Oh, okay.
Look at this.
Yeah.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
And it's free.
And it's free. Yeah. That's cool.
So that's a neat thing that you could do, and then you can...
You created it from the PowerPoint, a PDF, and then just loaded the PDF into...
Yep, I created this using PowerPoint. Converted it saved it, exported it to a PDF, made sure the pages were in the right order, and then I uploaded it here and it made it a book.
That's cool.
Pretty nice, huh?
Yeah.
And then if you wanted print copies, you could just go to the Copy Center and, use your course fees or whatever to pay for it. Okay? If you need assistance figuring out how to convert your documents to PDF files or how to put these licenses on them correctly, I'm here in the CTL all the time, and other folks can help you with that part as well. To get started, though, I'm going to continue to encourage you to first see what's out there. Because as you start looking at things and as you're exploring resources, start to look at the license to figure out how are people licensing these and how can I share them? How can I remix, reuse, redistribute these resources? What are my parameters? Okay? That's our time.